To be completely honest, at the moment, my journal and I aren't really getting along. Hello again team, it's Jess or JashiiCorrin, and welcome back for another Plan With Me video. Today I'm going to be setting up for week 7 of 2020, which is the 10th through to the 16th of February. But before we get into that, as per usual, we're just going to have a look at how this week is going. So, much like last week, I honestly have not been using my journal this week at all. All of the events and tasks that you can see on here were written down on Sunday, and it was only this morning that I actually came in and checked these things off. I'm still finding it tricky to balance my use of my teacher planner and the use of my bullet journal. And of course, because this is the second week back at school, there's all the craziness going along with that. So I haven't really been getting into my journal very much at all. For that reason, my setup for next week is going to be pretty damn simple. Mostly because I don't want to spend a lot of time and effort making a decorative spread that I'm then not going to use. For this week's spread, I honestly don't have anything against it. I think that on a typical week where I was really getting into my journal, it would be perfect for me. I do still really love the little Minecraft doodles, and I like that it has the space for the running to-do list and the space for each day of the week. But for this week in particular, I just haven't been using it. Also, as I typically do throughout the setup of the week coming, I am going to be answering the questions that were left on last week's video. Before we turn over, I'm just going to answer a couple of those questions because they are related to this weekly. And our first one comes from Marluz, who asked, do you play Minecraft or did you just use it for this week because it's based on pixels? A little bit of both really, because I do play Minecraft, not very often, and I'm certainly not a master builder or anything like that. I love that it's such a simple idea that still has such a huge potential for creativity. That and it's just a nice chill game that you can just pretty much do whatever you want. The second part of Marluz's question said, I noticed you looked back at the previous page quite a bit while colouring the light blue sections for the decoration. How do you think the Archer and Olive pages compare to the Dingbats or Scribbles That Matter pages for ghosting and bleeding? The constant checking is really just an old habit of mine. Because the Scribbles That Matter and the Dingbats do have thinner pages, the amount of ink that I put down in the Archer and Olive, that certainly would have bled through in those other two journals. For the Archer and Olive, I found so far that as long as I'm not ridiculous and like emptying a cup of water onto the page to try and do some kind of watercolour painting, I don't really get any bleeding at all in this journal. Or ghosting for that matter. Our next question comes from Kim, who said, I think this is a really super layout. I've been using this layout for a few weeks now and I really like it. I also like to keep track of my trackers on a monthly basis. Do you have more examples of such a layout? I don't necessarily have ones exactly like this, but I do have ones that are similar in that you have the section for the events on this side, which is just horizontally divided up, and a section for a running to-do list on this side. So for instance, from this layout in August of last year, I had the sections for my events on this side, so again just horizontally divided up, and then I had a running to-do list on this side. Though on this running to-do list, instead of just having everything together and then tracking it with the Monday, Tuesday through to Sunday on the top, for this one I just divided the page in half and then started at Monday. When that finished, drew ahead of a Tuesday, drew ahead of a Wednesday, etc. I had a similar thing later in the month where I just did it all on one page though. So instead of having a full page for the events like I've got here, I sectioned off half the page to have the events and then the other half of the page was for the running to-do list. Because this was only on half a page, I didn't have enough space to put the Monday through Sunday. So on this one I didn't actually record which days those tasks got done on. Flipping over now and getting to next week's weekly though, you can see I've already put in the week 7 in the top corners. If you hadn't already noticed, this is something I'm trying to do on every week in this journal, just so once I've finished migrating or scheduling any open tasks on those weeks, I can tick those boxes to say they're completed. On this weekly, I'm not going to be doing a lot of doodling, but I will be using some washi tape to make it look a little bit more decorative. Our next question comes from Ashlyn, who asked, what inspired you to start a bullet journal? As I've mentioned, I started bullet journaling about 3¼ years ago. And to be completely honest, I'm not really too sure why I started, but I'm very glad that I did. What I do remember though is getting very swept up in all of the aesthetic spreads that I was seeing over on Tumblr, and really wanting to do that myself. As part of my research prior to actually getting started, I happened across Boho Berry, so I took quite a lot of inspiration from her during my first journal. Although nowadays the reason that I like bullet journaling is keeping myself productive and holding myself accountable for all the things that I want to get done, back then it was really just about aesthetics. I loved the way that these full journals looked with all of their doodles and decoration, and I just wanted to give that a go myself. Our next question comes from Shanya, and in her comment she said, "Hey Jess, I'm a big fan of your beautiful monthly and weekly setups." Thank you. I wish I was able to reproduce them, but I am artistically challenged. Have you considered making downloadable versions of your spreads? I have considered it, but I'm not too sure how you'd actually execute that. Of course, if I'm making something for you guys to download and use in your own journal, I want to make sure it's high quality, but I don't really have the skill set, I guess, to get the spreads I make on paper into a digital version. It's something that I do want to look into, but I haven't quite gotten there just yet. For our next question, Janet asked, I see you have a teacher planner, but in the past, how did you use your bullet journal to make teaching-related spreads? For this one, I do actually have a video about teacher-related spreads. One of the spreads in particular that I used in my journal was just called my term planner, so it really just had a list of all of the lesson titles for the lessons I was teaching in any given week. That, along with some topic-specific checklists, was really all that I did in my bullet journal for teaching. For the most part, the stuff that I record for my teaching, I do digitally. I do have a link above to some of the teaching-related spreads that I have used in my journal though, so if you are keen, do go check those out. As always, thank you to our inquirers from last week. If you guys have a question that you want answered in next week's video, please do leave that in the comments below. Alrighty, so as I said, very simple layout. I just have space on the side here for my events, a space for the packing list that I'm going to need for EOTC week, and then a space for my running to-do list. I'm hoping that I can get my motivation back soon to actually get into my journal. I do know with EOTC week next week, it's probably not going to be week 7, but maybe week 8 is going to be better. Thank you for watching, team. If you liked today's video, please do make sure to give it a big thumbs up, and if you wanted to see more from me, feel free to go check out one of my other videos. Until next time, bye!